I've listened to Bambi by Hippo Campus since it came out in 2018.
And I listened to it once yesterday.
Welcome to Spin It. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Spin It, the record ranking podcast for people who would rather be listening to music. I'm James, that's Connor, and this is Spin It, like I said.
The people's champion in the house.
Sticking by that?
Yeah, I'm the people's champion.
Even after the events of last week, which was our awesome Grammy Special episode that hasn't been recorded.
Oh, well, I obviously accurately predicted who would be doing, like the people's champion would.
Yeah? Who was it about?
Yeah.
Who was last week's episode about? The Grammy episode.
You know, we did. The episode was last week. We know.
The joke is that we haven't recorded it yet. But I hope you liked it, and I hope we liked it too. What an exciting thing.
I hope we did too. Hey, why are you so jealous?
I'm not jealous.
Yeah, you are. You're jealous of the people's champion.
Why would I be jealous of the people's champion?
Because you're not one.
Okay.
That's in the final track. That's like the line they say over and over is at the beginning. They say it several times. Why are you so jealous?
Oh, got it. You're making passenger jokes at me.
I'm just making jokes about the album we're going to be talking about, which is Bambi.
Bambi by Hippo Campus. Not Bambi the deer. This is different. This is Bambi by Hippo Campus.
Hippo Campus has its mother.
Little dark.
I mean, can we just talk about how good of a huntsman that guy had to have been to shoot a white-tailed deer like running at full speed? Like, that's gotta be a pretty impressive shot.
Was she running at full speed? I haven't seen Bambi in a long time.
Oh, you haven't? They're like running through the field or whatever, and she's like, "Go, Bambi, go!" And they're all running back towards the forest, and then the gunshot goes off. So like he gets her at full sprint.
Well,
like shout out to that guy.
Shout out to the villain of Bambi. Yeah. No, this isn't about that. The album actually takes inspiration from a very different source that we'll talk about in a little bit. But it is named the same, like Bambi the deer. Maybe we should have watched Bambi in preparation for this, like we watched Elvis in preparation for the Elvis episode.
That would have been a weird one.
Yeah, it would have.
I want to watch a movie about a hippopotamus who goes to college.
Yeah, you're right. That's the other interesting bit about this episode. The band name, Hippo Campus. I'm sure you're probably familiar with the part of your brain.
No.
Oh, well, it's in there.
No, I am.
Even you have one.
Whoa.
Yeah, but that's what the band's name is derived from, but they put a space in between it. So now, yeah, it does mean like a pachyderm at university.
Pachyderm University. That'd be a great name for a film. Pachydermiversity. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore.
No, you lost that thread a while ago. The band Hippo Campus is one that I had my eye on from their earlier days. Probably 15, 16 is when I plugged into them. And I was listening to their debut album, Landmark, before Bambi was even around. So I'm a longtime listener.
Oh.
I like Hippo Campus.
You're a Bambi hipster, liking it before it was cool.
Yeah, maybe. Well, no, when it was cool. It's always been cool.
I don't know. Was it cool when it first came out?
Oh, this is philosophical. Do we give coolness to something based on whether we like it or not?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's kind of the whole concept of it, of what being cool is. It's a social construct. So unless you're talking about temperature, then that's, objective. We're off the rails. Just tell me about the artists already.
Yeah, I probably should. So Hippo Campus is a band made up of a group of friends from St. Paul, Minnesota. They mostly met in 2013 at the St. Paul Conservatory for Performing Artists. They were all students together, studying everything from jazz to opera. So they came in with a wide range of influences. By 2017, the lineup would be totally complete, consisting of Jake Luppin, who sings and plays the guitar, Nathan Stocker, who also sings and plays the guitar, Zach Sutton plays the bass, Whistler Allen plays the drums, and DeCarlo Jackson plays the trumpet.
Some weird hippo names.
That's their actual names.
They had hippo names, though. That's what I'm going to choose to call them.
What an awful transition. Back in the day, they did used to have stage names, like Stitches and Beans.
And Espo and Turntan.
Yeah, but they've dropped those stage names in the days since, so they just go by their actual names now. But they started making music together. Their first EP came out in 2013, followed by 2014's Bashful Creatures, and South in 2016, which is the first EP that I listened to by the band. I love South. It's very good. Hippo Campus, they put out their first two projects independently, but by the time South dropped, they had signed with Grand Jury Records and started to pick up a lot of real attention. They started to make TV appearances. They had songs put in other media. especially their song The Halo Climb. It was an integral part of the show Falling Skies. And they started to tour with a lot of bigger name bands in the genre, including My Morning Jacket, Walk the Moon, and even Modest Mouse. They started appearing at festivals, including South by Southwest and Lollapalooza, and this is before they've even released an album. They're really getting around the alt and indie music scene. Their first full-length record, Landmark, came out in 2017, and it's a pretty guitar-driven version of what would kind of morph into their signature sound. Although, in time, and especially on Bambi, they abandoned that guitar edge for a much more synthy, washed-out keyboard kind of sound. But they supported Landmark with an international headlining tour, another Lollapalooza appearance, and a stop at Bonnaroo. So, if any of you have visited those festivals in, the last 5-6 years, you've maybe seen Hippo Campus perform. Their second album, and our topic of discussion for today, is Bambi. It came out in September of 2018. I actually picked up Bambi the day it came out. I'm a day one Bambier.
You were there the day Bambi was born.
I was, yeah. The Prince of the Forest. No, we keep making references to the movie. It wasn't anything like, it's nothing to do with Bambi the movie.
It's got everything to do with it.
It doesn't, no. Actually, the namesake for this album comes after a lake house where they would go to write music and unwind. It was kind of their little writing retreat spot. It was owned by Jake Lupin's aunt, Bambi. So it's a person, not a deer. His dear Aunt Bambi.
His dear Aunt Bambi. All right.
The band actually wrote this record over the course of just 4 months in the winter while they were actually touring for Landmark. So that one was still fresh out when they started making this one. And while they made the album, they actually made it a point to challenge themselves with all kinds of unique melodies, chord progressions, and really sharp production. They went out of their way to make this unlike anything they'd done before.
Did they pass?
I would say they passed, being familiar with their earlier work.
They passed their challenge?
I think they did succeed at their own challenge, yeah. Or at least I think they would say they would. They put out Bambi, and it was supported by 3 of the album's 10 tracks as singles, including Passenger, Golden, and Bambi. But songs like Why Even Try, Anxious, and Doubt also made pretty big impacts on listeners and fans. And in fact, the singles from this record are some of the ones that I actually like the least. They'd be middle of the road for me.
I'll give nothing away.
You're giving nothing away? I'm trying to tease anything out of you at the early stages of this.
Yeah, this is another one you're going to be very anxious to know how I feel about, it sounds like.
Yeah, I am anxious. But we won't talk more about that until track 2.
Instead, let's talk about some mistakes. No. Let's just jump right into it.
Yeah. Critics have said of Bambi, they think it's about finding footing in a shaky world, being confused and unsure, and not understanding everything, and knowing that's all right. And according to the line of Best Fit, they said the record sounded like the band was searching for a better something, which is a degree of vagueness that I think is fitting for this record. It's like hopeful, but we don't know exactly what for. I like it. As for the band's history since 2018, they've put out a pair of demos recordings after Bambi. Some of them were previously unreleased, and some of them were unused takes that didn't make the cut for the record. And I really like those records too. And then in 2021, they put out another EP called Good Dog, Bad Dream that features some wild rhythmical variations and musical decisions. It's almost like they went out of their way to one-up themselves again. When they went from Landmark to Bambi, they said, okay, this is going to be a record where we push ourselves to do something different. And then for Good Dog, Bad Dream, it feels like they went, okay, let's push ourselves again and do something even more radically different than Bambi. And I think that's really cool. Then in February of 2022, a year ago, they put out their third LP, appropriately titled LP3. I can't believe it's been out for a year. And separately, the band's members have also invested a little time into solo projects, so they've been staying pretty busy over the last 5 years. It's been a whirlwind of new Hippo Campus music since 2017. But that's what you need to know about Hippo Campus. And here comes a bunch of stuff that you might not need to know about Hippo Campus, but it's really cool to know either way. Let's play some Factor Spin.
Let's do it. Let's get him on out here.
Him being the mixtaper, the dastard behind the game show.
Yeah, the dastardly host of our favorite game show.
Yes.
Hey, it's me, the mixtaper, back here for another victorious week.
I don't know about that. And actually, we won't even know. I mean, we're recording this episode now, but we don't know what happened last week. Maybe your perfect year is already ruined.
Oh, no.
I'm putting that thought in your head early. Psych you out, maybe.
Oh, no. What have you done? I play the mind games here.
Yeah, well, I've already started playing my mind games. I'm frankly still pretty upset about the Elvis episode.
Yeah, you should be. I got you good on that one.
I mean, really good. Bravo.
I got a fun little mind game of my own this week. I'm going to let you pick the order of the facts.
Okay.
Pick a number 1 through 4.
Well, so we usually do 4 as the big ramp. I don't want to start there, but let's start off with a bang at number 3.
All right, here we go. The band has an interesting ritual.
Okay, like a pre-show ritual?
Correct.
Okay, we've had a couple of those before, like eating chickens and doing other things. What is Hippo Campus's pre-show ritual?
Negative emotion expulsion.
So they try and feel really good before the show. What do they do to expel their negative emotions?
They stand in a circle and say them.
They say all their negative emotions, like, I'm angry, I'm upset,
If I'm reading this right, they just say the name of the emotion. They stand in a circle and they go around one by one and say the name of any negative emotion that they've been feeling so they can get it off their chest before they have to go out and give a performance. So one of them might be like anger, the other one's like depression.
And so it makes them less angry or depressed or whatever, like just to talk about it and
just to kind of get it
out of their head, speak it. Yeah, clear their mind.
Exactly.
Sure, that seems like it would make sense. How long have they been doing this? Why'd they start?
I don't know. They just do it.
They just do it, like Nike.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. I think that makes a lot of sense. I feel like you could have a lot of emotions before going on stage and putting on a show. And if Bambi as an album tells us anything, it's that they do experience a lot of those bad emotions from time to time. And it could be helpful, I think, to probably do something like this. Does anyone ever not have any negative emotions? What do you say if you don't think you need to cleanse from something?
I don't know. Maybe everybody's feeling something that they don't want to be. I don't know, right? Has anybody ever truly not got anything? Maybe it's just nerves.
Yeah, just something.
I would say maybe they just say like a happy emotion, but you don't want to get that out of your head.
No, bottle that up.
Yeah, you want to get that bottled up. I don't know.
Lock and key on the good emotions.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to say this is a fact.
Going with a fact.
Yeah, I'm thinking the band does have an interesting ritual. Yes.
This is a spin.
Darn it. It was a believable spin. It's a believable spin.
It sure was.
They seem like a tight-knit group of friends. And
Uh-huh.
oh, man.
And like you said, it's like they're all about
Anger,
like negative emotions.
anger, frustration.
Anger, frustration.
Disappointment.
Any fear?
No fear yet. I'm just expelling my negative emotions at you right now.
Pick your next fact.
Lucky number 2.
Lucky number 2.
Yeah, we'll make a sandwich out of it and take the middle first.
Oh.
Which is the opposite, I guess, of what you do.
Okay. Is that how you eat your sandwiches?
No, you'd make a sandwich the other way around because you need the outsides to fill.
Inverted sandwich.
Yeah, bread on the end, just like the KFC sandwich where they put bacon in between chicken and called it a sandwich. What a time. Remember that? Wow.
No, lucky number 2 is Jake Lupin lost to an American Idiot.
Okay, well, the first thing that strikes me from this fact is American Idiot is a whole episode we've done. Green Day.
Uh-huh.
Do they have any relevance to this fact?
Perchance. Why don't you go ahead and name me a member of Green Day?
Billy Joe Armstrong.
A different one.
Mike Dirnt.
There you go.
Seems like he's always the one.
Yeah. He lost to Mike Dirnt.
He lost what? A competition? A tooth? Mike Dirnt lost a tooth when he got hit with that mud.
A competition, yeah.
Okay. Was it a tooth having competition? Because
that's funny.
no. Okay. So what are they competing in or for?
An iced coffee drinking contest.
Really? Like a one-on-one contest?
Uh-huh.
How'd this happen?
It happened while celebrating at Rachael Ray's feedback house.
What? Rachael Ray, like the one who cooks.
Yeah.
Okay, so she's having a party.
Not so much a party. The feedback house is just like a place that they were at with Rachael Ray.
For what? An event?
I can't figure that out. I knew you'd ask, and I tried. I really did.
So let's just assume that Rachael Ray's throwing a party. This is absurd.
I know.
Rachael Ray's throwing a party. She invites Green Day and Hippo Campus. My first question is unrelated to the fact. Who else is here?
They are the only ones mentioned and the only ones in the photo.
Hold on. So not Green Day and Hippo Campus. Mike Dirnt and Jake Lupin.
Yeah.
They're the only 2 people here.
No. Sorry. It's Mike Dirnt, Espo, Turntan, Stitches, and Beans as they still went at the time.
Oh, okay.
Rachael Ray, and then a guest are who are in the photo. And then I'm sure it looks like there's a whole bunch of other people.
And while they're here, Jake Lupin goes, hey, you want to drink a lot of iced coffee?
While they're the sponsor of whatever this event was the Javalia iced coffee brand.
Oh, so they sponsored the event and said, hey, why don't you 2 go and make yourself sick on our coffee?
No, I think there's like a whole little bar area that just has the little like personal packaged iced coffees in them with almond milk. It's the almond milk iced coffees.
Oh, so they just went up to the bar then and said, hey, you and me, let's put them back.
Yeah, like literally, there's tons of photos from whatever this event is, and people like chugging them and taking things, and they decided to have a chugging contest to see who could down their bottle first.
Okay, so now we get to the meat and potatoes of the fact. How many did each of them drink?
I don't know how many they drank total throughout the event, but this was specifically a one chug contest.
Oh, it was just like a speed contest, otherwise known as a race.
Yeah, yep.
Okay. How bad did he lose?
No, I can't imagine you lose that badly. It's not that much to lose by.
No, true.
But he lost.
Interesting. And all kinds of weird.
Specifically, it's one of these. Here, I've grabbed a picture of one of them for you, just so we're clear about what they were drinking.
Oh, okay. I don't know what to believe. This is a lot to take in. I guess this is, on some level, this is definitely true. You've said too many things for this to be 100% a lie. They clearly were in the same place.
But is it partially a lie? That's the question.
No, I think this one's a fact.
No.
I can't lock in fact every time. Do you know how many times I've said fact in the last several weeks? I guess I'm sticking to it.
Well, last week, or I guess 2 weeks ago, they were all facts, and you didn't believe, like, hardly any of them.
I didn't believe half of them.
Yeah.
During the episode, though, I did pretty well. Then you gave me extras. Anyway, that's not the point now. I think I'm gonna just roll the dice on fact.
All right. There you are.
That's probably means it's a spin.
It's a spin.
You sent the picture. You sent the picture, and so that definitely locked in for me that this was a spin.
Yep, but they did go to Rachael Ray's feedback house. All of them were there in this, as you can see by this photo.
I sure can see that, and yeah, I knew that was true.
Yeah. This was on March 21st of 2015 as well.
So I'm 0 for 2 already. This sucks. I'm already behind the 8 ball.
Yes. The best you can do is tie. I've already locked in that at least this week is not going to be the loss that ruins my streak.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
The pressure is off. Go ahead and pick a number. You got 1 and 4 left. Which part of the sandwich you want next?
Well, I can't put number 4 in the 4 slot, so we'll do number 4 next and go just all out of whack.
All right. Well, in that case, Nathan Stalker picked up a pair of interesting hobbies.
A pair is a difficult thing to work with because one could be true or neither could be true. This gives me way less margin for error.
You skipped the other option where both are true.
They could both be true, but you know I'm probably going to end up saying fact, and that would work out. So
I don't know. We'll find out.
We will find out. Fact.
Oh, okay. This is...
No, wait. What are his interesting hobbies? Does he cast things in bronze? Is he a law enforcement officer?
No.
Those are not his 2 interesting hobbies. What are the 2?
For the first one, I'd like to remind you of the classic phrase. Buy a man a spoon, and he'll have a spoon. Teach a man to carve a spoon, and he'll also have a spoon, but it'll probably be a less good spoon.
That's a good phrase.
And that's a long-winded way of saying he got into spoon carving.
Specific hobby. How did you get into spoon carving?
There was a good old chunk of free time that you've maybe heard of called the pandemic.
I sure have, yeah. It's come up in my life. And so he decided just to spend his 2 weeks at home carving spoons. 2 weeks is in quotation marks.
His 2 weeks.
That's in quotes.
Oh, okay, gotcha. He went down one of those famous YouTube rabbit holes and ended up on a tutorial on how to do spoon carving and loosely got into the hobby.
Loosely. How many spoons has he carved?
Only a couple.
Like a full set? Can he entertain?
I don't even know if he has a full set. I have images of 2 of them.
Are they okay? Do they look good?
One of them looks significantly better than the other. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, you got a first spoon. You got to give him a pass on his first.
Yeah, you know, a freebie spoon.
What's the hardest part about carving a spoon? Has he said what's tough about it or easy, what he likes?
He does say he likes doing it because it passes the time. You know, it's like something that you can lose track of time on, kind of empty your mind.
Yeah.
Detox from overthinking sort of thing.
Right. Therapeutic.
Yeah, that's a way better word than anything I said.
So that's hobby number 1.
Sure is. And the reason I said these were a pair of hobbies is because they do kind of go together.
Don't tell me he carves forks too.
That would be such a me thing to do.
Yeah, I've heard actually that spoon carving is pretty similar to carving small bowls on sticks.
Oh, they're probably pretty similar.
Yeah. So what's the second hobby that is maybe related?
The second hobby is Pyrography.
Pyrography. So it sounds to me, phonetically, I don't know, breaking it down.
Uh-huh.
Pyrography sounds like fire writing.
Yeah, you pretty much nailed it.
So like branding things.
Yeah, I mean, it's less writing and more like detailing.
Okay.
It's, less like you have a quill and it's on fire, and more you have like a hot piece of metal and you're carving into wood and burning wood or leather to make like images.
Yeah, like branding.
Yeah.
A little bit. Does this come about because of the spoons?
It was similarly found in a YouTube deep dive.
Got it. Down the rabbit hole.
And he did indeed test out his pyrography skills on his spoons.
How big are the handles of his spoons? That's not a lot of...
I don't think you understand. Like, it's you just can put patterns and stuff.
Okay. That makes sense. Like, if it's small.
On one of them, he's got like some stars going up the handle.
Nice. So what kind of equipment do you need for pyrography? Is it just some kind of metal heating apparatus and like a rod of some sort? Do you need, I don't know, special tools?
Yes, you need special tools. You can just buy like a wood burning kit. It's almost like a pen or pencil, right? Think a screwdriver, but the end of it heats up.
Right.
And it's connected to like a box that heats it up.
Right, like a battery.
Yeah.
Or something. Yeah, sure. So it's almost like a little blowtorch, but instead of open flame, it is just really hot metal.
Yeah, think like soldering, if you've ever seen like a soldering kit.
Yeah.
And you can get like different like tips.
Mm-hmm. Are these hobbies that he's stuck with over the last couple years? Or is this just like I dabbled and now I'm done?
I think this was more of just I was bored, couldn't leave my house, and now I'm done.
Right, makes sense. I know. How many of you out there will ever make a loaf of bread again?
I might be soon. I love to make some pumpernickel bread.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. Yeah, present company excluded. Darn you, I want to say this as a fact.
But you're not gonna?
My gut is saying don't say fact. But I know if I do that, this is going to be true.
That seems to be how these things play out, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the pandemic. Everybody picked up a little thing here and there.
But did Nathan Stocker?
No, spin. This one's a spin.
No, going with spin.
It is a spin. I think you learned about fire writing and wanted to talk about it.
Oh, this is another one of those I wanted to talk about things. Gotcha.
It could be, or the spoon thing could be real, and you've added the fire writing as a red herring, as a distraction. And
could the fire writing be true and the spoon thing be not true?
Absolutely not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, under no cases is that the case. So
lock it in spin.
I'm locking in spin. Spin on the spoons.
All right. So far, we've had fact number 3 is a spin that you guessed wrong. Fact number 2 is a spin that you guessed wrong. And fact number 4 as a spin that you guessed right.
Hey.
It is indeed a spin.
I got it. Yay. Yay me. It feels a little less meaningful since you've already not lost.
Yeah. That's great, too, at this point. All I have to do now every week is get at least 2, and I've won.
Yeah, you bought yourself an extra point so that you can consider a win. I can't believe it. I can't believe I let this happen.
You let me get away with this.
Because now I have to get 3, or it's almost like I've lost. We are infamous for 50-50s. Like, so many of our episodes have been split down the middle.
Uh-huh.
Oh, this is hard. Okay. Is any of it true?
No.
And why did you say it? What's the inspiration?
I came up with the idea of him having an interesting hobby, and then I found both of those, and I was like, I don't know which one to pick, so why not both?
Why not both? They go together.
Yeah. They literally, like, on a list of interesting, weird hobbies that I found are right next to one another.
Well, I kind of considered the fact that carved spoons are going to be wooden, and you're kind of, almost in a literal sense, playing with fire if you're superheating wood.
That's the whole point of pyrography, is you do it into wood or leather.
That's true.
It's like, those are your 2 mediums.
Well...
That leaves us with number 1.
Yeah.
The last piece of the sandwich that you put on when you're making a sandwich. So, here we are.
Right. Yeah, I'm not sure. I feel like I maybe have saved myself an actual final ramp here. Because kind of what I assume happens if you find facts at all. Like, if you research, you probably find the most outrageous facts first and write it down first. And then you fill in spins as you go along. So, this could be a really outrageous fact.
Sometimes. Sometimes I already have ideas for spins and they get written down first. And then I go hunting for things.
Yeah.
Other times I go hunting for things, can't find anything, make up a spin, and then come across something later. My process is an enigma.
It sure is.
Don't try to psychoanalyze my process.
No, far be it from me.
But you have indeed saved yourself a final ramp, so...
Oh, I was going to say, let's hear.
DeCarlo Jackson owns a unique piece of art.
Is it the Lars Ulrich toilet?
Could you imagine if he was the owner of that?
That would blow my mind. Is it a piece of art that I would know? Like a famous piece of art? Or just a bizarre one?
No, I don't think you would know it.
Okay. What is the medium of the art? Is it a sculpture? Is it a painting? Is it a photograph?
It is a fountain, I guess.
It's a fountain.
Yes, a cascading fountain.
He owns a unique cascading fountain.
With a copper bowl.
How big is the fountain? Like backyard sized or sits on your desk size?
I actually have dimensions. So
Here you go.
65 inches high, 40 inches wide, 20 inches deep.
So this is a backyard piece. That's like feet tall.
Oh, yes, it's about, yes.
That feels like a thing where if you own it, you've either had it installed in your backyard or you bought a house with it in the backyard.
Definitely had it installed.
Uh-huh. What's so unique about it?
The medium it is made out of and what it represents.
Oh, what it's made out of. So it's got copper bowls. Obviously, check that one off the list.
So unique.
Yes. Yeah. What else is it made out of?
Instruments.
I thought you might say this. What kind of instruments?
Non-functional musical instruments, including a tenor sax, an alto sax, a trombone, and 2 trumpets with rolling balls.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know what the last part means either.
So, like brass instruments then?
Yeah.
Okay. Sensible to not make a fountain out of wooden instruments.
And then it has just some other like copper and glass doodads.
Okay. Why and where did he pick this up?
He bought it from a artist named Douglas Walker.
I see. And it's one of a kind? Douglas Walker doesn't make a bunch of these?
It's not one of a kind, but they all are kind of unique. And this one specifically is.
Yeah? How so?
He specifically picked out which instruments were used.
Ooh. How much did he spend on this? It's a commission piece of already, instruments can get pretty pricey. Water features can also get pretty pricey.
Mm-hmm.
Put them both together. This might be a pretty hefty price tag.
We're going to play our second favorite game show, Guess That Dollar Amount, here in a moment.
Why don't I ever see it coming?
But first, I do want to just give you a little more background so you can make a better educated guess.
Thank you.
Douglas Walker's kind of known for his instrument artwork. That's like his thing. His art studio's just filled with non-functioning brass, copper, and tons of instruments, tons of like candlesticks and vases, just all sorts of things that you can then use in these.
Sure. Yeah, scrap and yeah, you'd probably collect.
He makes, wind features, water features, sculptures, wall art decals. I looked them up.
I'm sure you did.
And that's how I have a price. I don't know what he spent. I mean, I imagine picking out the instruments is maybe just a thing he was able to do by contacting the guy, because there's a contact section on his website.
Sure, you might be right.
Because the picture he has of his studio is just filled with instruments. So it probably wouldn't have been like too pricey to pick out the instruments. But I can tell you what the most recent one sold for.
Yeah, by all means.
I don't know about his. Well, I mean, I'm going to once you guess it, that is.
Oh, fine. If I'm gonna get a fountain like that, I don't know how much fountains cost in general, actually. Wait, no, I kind of do. Okay. One of my friends recently received a water feature for Christmas, and so I looked into what it would cost for everyone to chip in and buy a ridiculous one next year. I'm gonna say $7,000.
Ooh, bit high, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
The one that I saw was $8,000, and it wasn't custom.
This one, called Twin Sax number 21, sold for $3,750.
Oh, well, is it just one saxophone or a twin? If it's twin, it's probably 2.
It's 2 saxophones and it looks like a trombone, and then some other copper doodads.
So for $3,000, okay. Not an unreasonable price.
So his was probably maybe a little more than that with the extra instruments and stuff.
Expensive, but not unreasonable.
Yeah.
This is a spin.
This is a spin.
Yeah, my spin senses are tingling. I know that you played trumpet and brass instruments,
Sure
and
did.
I also know that you have a bit of a penchant for decor. Interesting things that you find and you like, and, other stuff similar to some kind of unique fountain. I think you know the artist, or at least knew the fountain, or conceptualized of a fountain like this, and found an artist that fit what you thought. And I think that's where this comes from.
Gotcha. Well, now that you've locked in spin, let me give you the last little piece of information I have, which is the instruments he chose were because those are the brass instruments he plays.
Yeah.
As a multi-instrumentalist.
Yeah, I figured you might say that.
This is a spin.
Yeah, Yeah. I thought you'd get me to walk it back.
This is a spin.
I wasn't changing my mind. I know sometimes, about half the time.
I know you. I can correctly guess at least half the time.
I had to warm up. I had to warm up into this round, is what happened here, obviously.
Yeah, it really is what happened.
Yeah, had to wake up the old Hippo Campus.
There is the one I described, and that is the one I described actually is Twin Sax 21.
That's $3,000? That's actually really cool.
There are about 25 water outlets, so water comes out of about 25 different places and cascades back down into the bowl.
That's really cool.
So I assume it's like out of like the saxophone plugs and the trumpet buttons and stuff and the tops of them.
Yeah, awesome.
It does look awesome. And I did not know about it ahead of time. I just was like, oh, he's a multi-instrumentalist. What's a cool art piece? And I literally, you made the joke about casting things in bronze on the last fact.
I did.
I did. My first one was his childhood trumpet cast in bronze. And I was like, nah, why would he want to cast his already metal instrument in another metal?
In a worse metal.
Yeah. So then I was just like, cool instrument art. And I found that. And I was like, that's awesome. There's his website. And I absolutely want one now. I would buy that for $3,750. That's
I know you would.
Awesome.
I know you would. And that's why I was really suspicious. The red flags were going up on this fact. Well, that's great. I saved defeat, but not by much.
You saved defeat, but also technically lost.
Your streak is still going, unless...
My streak lived, which you're trying to end, so you lost that battle, but you tied the war.
Unless you lost last week.
Well, maybe.
And only the audience knows that.
Only the audience knows that, yeah.
It's a little bit of dramatic irony, really. We don't know what happens in the last episode.
It really is. All this could have been for nothing.
Yeah. So I'm going to continue to feel good about this. And you can continue to feel however you want to feel. You know what? Just purge that negative emotion.
Sloths.
No, well, sloth. Yeah, sloth is one of the deadly sins.
Is it an emotion? I don't know.
I guess it's kind of more of a behavior pattern.
Yeah, you're right. All right, but until then, I'm going to go purge some negative emotions back in the untrue.
Yeah, good idea.
I'll see you next week for another exciting round of Fact or Spin.
Yeah, you will.
Yeah.
Well, goodbye, mixtaper. Hello, Connor.
People's champion.
The people's champion. You're sticking by that.
Still sticking by it.
I just wondered if your mind had changed halfway through.
No, it is not a mistake.
Nice.
Would have been a good transition, but we got album art to do. I'll just keep making mistake references until it's time.
Yeah, sure. Let's talk about the album art on Bambi. It's a really involved piece of album art.
It is very involved.
If you look on the left side, there's like I can't tell if it's an actual woman or a mannequin or something, sprawled out on steps, like floating stairs too, the really hip, cool ones. Very pink, purpley, dark blue. And then on the right side, there's a lot of squiggles.
A lot of squiggles.
Yeah.
And all the track names.
Yes, all the track names on the front, which is sometimes a rarity.
Which is cool.
It is very neat.
Looking like icicles.
Yeah, the way they hang down. It kind of, to me, feels like that is them knowing that this album is mostly going to be consumed digitally. So most people will only ever see the front cover of the album. Yeah, it's almost like what they used to do with like old-timey records where they put the track names on the front because they want you to pick it up and buy it right away.
Yeah.
I feel like this one is kind of like most of you will never see the flip side since you'll stream this somewhere. So we'll put everything on the front.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
You know how like things go full circle with technology, like cell phones, right?
Yeah.
Cell phones were really, 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 really big and bulky, and then we started making more and more and more compact until we discovered we could put a screen on them. And they started doing bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger again. And now they've gotten so big, people are like trying to figure out how to fold them back up so that we can still keep them big, but also get them more compact again.
Bigger but smaller.
It's like just that continuous cycle.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it is. We've gone from, gotta have it on the front so people see it, to, people see it on the back, to, we gotta put it on the front so people see it.
Pretty much. That's pretty much how it's happened.
Pretty funny.
I think I saw or read somewhere that the squiggles and the hole on the right side is meant to represent the change in their style as they kind of evolve into this new era.
It just looks like one of those like indie video game ragdolls. Like the body falls over and all the limbs just take off and do crazy things.
Flopping around a little bit. I don't know. It's interesting for sure. And it was a fun one to make Instagram art for.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Before we get into the tracks, I wanted to give a quick little note about how the band writes a lot of their songs. They describe their process for creation in a really unique way. They say, We're just four dudes fumbling around in the dark, hoping we stumble upon some light somewhere. That's kind of where the music comes from.
Whenever you preface an episode with like, oh, there's this really unique way that they go about their process, it's usually because to the average person, as their champion, I think the average person is going to have a hard time recognizing that, and you want to try to like soften the negative blow that maybe some of the tracks could have for seeming like a jumbled mess of people trying to stumble upon something.
No, I don't think it's like that. I think it's just that most people will never look into or know how the writing process goes for these bands.
Yeah, is it really much of a process if you're just stumbling around looking?
Yeah, that's a way. It tells a lot about their mindset, about how they create and the place that they're coming from when they do it, I think.
To me, a process is a series of actual like steps, not just a random stumbling, but that's okay.
Well, if stumbling is one of your steps, step 1, stumble. Step 2, song. That's steps.
Right.
Speaking of steps, how about that album art? Full circle again.
Full circle. Listen, all I'm saying might have been a bit of a mistake.
Yeah, it might have been. Anyway, let's get into track.
Anyway, let's spin it.
Yeah. Oh, look, you brought that back. It's been
a couple episodes because you've done such a smooth transition into it. It felt weird, and so I let it go. But I always thought about it.
Oh, you didn't want to interrupt.
That's why this time I got it out there before you could transition it.
I see. I don't remember the last time you said a let's spin it. I think it was before Spinter Wonderland.
No, it's been since then.
I don't know. I'd have to go back and look. Either way, we're spinning it now. Track 1 is Mistakes. It's a different kind of track on this album already. It's a bit more of an introductory track instead of like an album tentpole.
I liked it.
You liked it? Okay, good. You're showing your hand now.
I liked the intro at least.
Gotcha. It's ethereal, very disembodied.
It is, and that's what I expected.
Okay, well that's good. I think if what you expected is something you maybe expected to enjoy, sometimes surprising, subverting your expectations can be good. Sometimes it can be bad though, and for you it seems more often than not that's a bad thing.
Technically yes, but that's because you've only given me bad examples.
Wow, okay. Jake Lupin says this song is about wanting to be the best you can for the people you love, but feeling like you can't really carry that out. He wrote the song, and it's very interesting to me if you listen to the way it sounds now. He wrote the song with an acoustic guitar at 5 a.m. He says they're shooting for a Beach Boys from Space kind of vibe.
I get that vibe.
Yeah, good Beach Boys from Space, too. Not Pet Sounds Beach Boys from Space. Oh, you thought it was Pet Sounds Beach Boys from Space style?
It was very hit or miss. And actually, I will now show my hand a little bit. When you mentioned that the singles from the album are some of your least favorites,
yeah,
I tend to agree with you.
Not least.
You know, it went back and forth between good Beach Boys and bad Beach Boys, depending on the track.
Oh, no, that's just a specific song.
Oh, well.
This song probably was a better Beach Boys.
This song was a good Beach Boy.
Yeah, that's actually the one where they're trying to emulate the Beach Boys.
I don't know, the whole album, just his singing voice and style kind of gave me some Beach Boy vibes.
That's fair.
Even if the style didn't always necessarily match, but just Jake, the main singer.
I think a lot of that Beach Boys style sound is maybe a bit of a relic from Landmark, from their older style. It carries over well, blends together with the new very well. But I think they lose a little bit of that going forward with Good Dog Bad Dream and LP3. It does, evolve even further away from it.
Yeah.
Conceptually, I really like Mistakes. The whole album is very introspective, right off the top. A lot of those negative emotions that the band, I guess, doesn't cleanse before shows, but those are a lot of the things this album is about. And track names alone reflect that. Anxious, doubt, why even try? It's there. But Mistakes is a great way to start it off. The speaker talks about being marked with this warning. He's got a glow about him that keeps people away. He keeps making an allusion to the Garden of Eden where a snake gets Adam and Eve to kind of make mankind's first mistake, is really the way he's trying to frame the song. And in the chorus, he kind of tries to justify it like, I'm not that bad. Everybody makes mistakes. Everyone's doing it, trying to give himself that leeway.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's an interesting mindset to open you into this album with. The outro at the end of this song features kind of a little garbled vocal that says, don't be afraid of the way that you feel. Open your heart and you'll see it's real. That little piece of song was recorded on Nathan Stocker's phone. He says he was talking to a homeless man outside of one of their concert venues, and the guy was singing that. So he decided to whip out his phone and record it. In his own words, the experience was, quote, really strange.
That's interesting.
It is. I don't think we've seen anything like that on an album before in our 83 episodes.
You know what I'm feeling?
What?
Anxious to talk about the next track.
I'm anxious to talk about Anxious, too. The bulk of Anxious was written by bassist Zach Sutton, and he says the song was kind of a scribbling of all my social anxieties that I couldn't comprehend, and I was never really sure if that was a part of growing up or something more than that. So that's really what the song is. It's this anxiety to a degree that is really starting to hinder your relationships and get in the way of being with people. What's interesting about some of these songs, Anxious first and foremost, is that it's heavy subject matter, but I think the music belies that.
So the instrumentals are on point almost the entire album. That's the one constant for this album.
I would agree with that. And even on the lesser of the tracks, I still find a good couple spots to get into it.
Mm-hmm. Even on the ones that I didn't care for the song itself as much, the instruments were doing their best.
Absolutely.
I really enjoy Anxious as well. Like I said, I like the beginning of Mistakes with kind of the ethereal intro.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a bit long of a song to be this kind of concept intro, ethereal kind of thing.
Yeah.
But Anxious, just when I think it's maybe gonna be repeat that mistake, you hit that like last 45 seconds of the song where the bridge comes in.
Yeah.
And it just revitalizes the whole song.
It really does. I think it's a great musical parallel because in the bridge he talks about screaming it, but I won't believe it. And that's the point in the song where they just cut loose and scream it.
Yeah, and that bridge, and then they do it again on the outro with the all scream it, but I won't believe it. That full sound is what I feel like the band lacks on some of their other tracks. I feel like that right there is the sound that from now, like when I think of Hippo Campus, that's what I'm going to think of, is that full band sound. And so then on some of these other tracks where it's just Jake singing chorus after chorus by himself with the instrumentals, don't really hit the same because I know what the full band sound can be like. They've given it to me on track 2.
They did, but I don't want them to overdo it.
No.
By the same token, I think if they put it in too much, you'd really get burnt out on it.
I think that I disagree with that. I think the band themselves, I would like them better if not necessarily the intensity or the volume or like the swell, but just their sound as a band was more of a band sound and less of an individual singer with a backup band. That's the point I'm trying to is a lot of these tracks could be described as just an individual singer with a backup band doing instrumentals and the occasional like accent every once in a while.
Okay.
Whereas in like this bridge and outro, even though it's mainly still just Jake singing, something about it, like the full band coming together in this way, and they do it again on one of the later tracks where they're all together, just is really nice, and I like the sound better.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Not to say that I didn't like some of the single stuff, just that in general, I think that's the style I preferred.
Gotcha. There's a good blend of styles on this album. This one, you're right, it does start very minimal with the little beat boops and a drum line, which I like. Keeps things moving. And you know, it didn't actually always sound that way. They almost had an entirely different arrangement that was obviously way more bass heavy, being written by the bassist. But they made some decisions in the studio to switch it around, and I think that was a win, at least on most fronts. And I think the lyrics bounce around enough, too, to kind of match the feeling of being anxious, like jittery kind of and just uncertainty. The cadence is great.
Yeah, they have some good lyrics in here, too.
Yeah, there's not much left to do, even less to say, but glue together moments just to throw them all away.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you can hear, just even speaking that, how it, like there's a good ebb and flow to that lyric, and the rest of them, too.
Yep. They do some fun rhythmic stuff with the vocals.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you usually see some really kind of spiced up, fun, playful rhythms in the instrumentals on a lot of albums. I feel like easier to do or more comfortable to do than sometimes, because when you're doing the lyrics, you run that risk of making it hard to become catchy or sing-alongable that a lot of music strives for. And so you run that risk when you start throwing in these kind of, we will really talk about it on the next track, where these real fragmented eighth note, quarter, eighth note rhythms that kind of bounce all around.
Mm-hmm.
But I like them.
I like them too.
They stick with me long term. It may be off of the initial gut punch harder to follow and pick up, but once you got it, it sticks to your bones.
Yeah, okay, a bone sticker. That's a new one. I like it. Track 3 is up next. It's called Doubt.
And I have no doubt that this was One of my favorites.
One of your favorites. Nice. I love the way this one starts. It's got that dirty, grindy synth sound that backs this one up. It's a really strong start right away. And whereas the last two songs have been really ambient and floaty and kind of like that, except for, the last bridge, this has a really cool arpeggiated kind of sound where we lose any of that ambience. Like altogether, it's just gone. The band says this actually, Doubt was their first time they tried to base a song around a keyboard.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And instrumentally, this song is the first time Hippo Campus ever featured the work of another signed musician.
Oh.
Corey Wong, the guitarist from the band Wolfpack, contributes the guitar solo in the bridge.
Oh, nice. This is that, like I kind of talked about in the last song, one of those ones that they, again, go with some more complicated vocal rhythms. The bum 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 bum, but a lot of eighth. A lot of quarter, eighths,
yes,
halves, quarters, eighths, quarters, halves, just kind of back and forth all around rather than your standard, maybe just eighth notes or half notes all together. They're really playing with what they're choosing to do, mixing it up.
Yeah, and it kind of counters what they're doing with the arpeggio in the keyboard sound a lot.
Yes.
They fight each other.
There's that like techno synth vibe to it where like his voice is almost trying to match the rhythm of the synth.
Yeah. Doubt is a song, I think, honestly, I could put this song on repeat and just like let it go, whatever I'm doing, and not get tired of it.
Yeah.
I really think it would just be a permanent loop. If that was the thing I had to endure, I could do it.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good compliment.
It is. It's a high energy song. It's fun to listen to. And I think the lyrics hit in a meaningful way, too. It's really a trifecta.
Oh, yeah.
The song is all about doubting whether the situation you're in is actually genuine love or whether it's something more surface level. And I think that's a pretty universal and complicated emotion that they're tackling pretty well.
Yeah, and this is another one of those ones that Jake kind of singing by himself works. Again, maybe because they've stripped back any of the ethereal soundingness and gone full in on the synth. But
yes,
I think it works with him singing this one, especially then juxtaposed, bringing that word back. That's a deep cut for some of you listeners. To the choruses, where again it's the full band coming together with the love, is it love, ba 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 da ba ba ba.
You're right.
That then it smooths back out to what we just heard on Mistakes and Anxious.
Yeah, it's a good contrast between everything except the chorus and the chorus.
Well, and I think it's cool that, I don't know, I don't have the one listen, I'm still kind of trying to wrap my brain around some of this, but it feels like the verses, they got this poppy funk techno vibe to them, right? And then you hit the chorus, and in a song called Doubt, it feels like the chorus matching the vibe of the terms mistakes and anxious when he's asking, is it love? We got trouble keeping up. And never have doubt. All these things. It's interesting that matches the previous two songs called Anxious and Mistakes versus the lyrics. I don't know. There's something there. I'm going to need a couple more lyrics to really find what it is.
Yeah, it's a marked shift in lyrical content and musical content, kind of in opposite directions.
There's something to singing Love Is It Love matching the songs called Anxious and Mistakes versus the lyrics, I think it's copacetic, drink it up like it's a fetish. Like there's something there. I don't know what yet.
Yeah.
And now for the title track and second single from the album,
Bambi. Heck yes.
The most popular one on Spotify as well, and one of my least favorites.
One of your least favorites?
I did say I didn't care for the singles.
Interesting. Well, I like Bambi. It's different. I'll give you. Bambi is different.
It's definitely bottom half, maybe bottom third.
Wow. I like Bambi a lot. Jake Lupin wrote this one. The band says it's about feeling a lack of control over your mood swings and trying to embolden the part of yourself that could help you get through that. So a lot of the lyrics reflect that. My friends are feeling put through it. Like I'm really doing my friends wrong, but I can't help it. It's just I'm bringing the bad vibes and I'm trying to find a way to correct. And same as the album, once again, title comes from Aunt Bambi's Lake House. The band says that Bambi was the last song they actually added to the record and probably the most elusive.
Maybe I judged it too hard off of only one listen.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't care for the random falsettos he's put on random words as he was kind of jumping all around lyrically, vocally.
Oh, at the starts of phrases like, I haven't, and then he comes back down, been much myself.
Yeah, but it also on some of the longer phrases pop in the middle. Be like, I feel like my friends or something like that. I don't know. Somewhere in like the longer phrases, it would randomly also go back up. And I just feel like on some of these other ones, I had longer verses. Maybe they'd only maybe have one chorus and they'd have a couple verses and refrains and bridges kind of fleshing out the song. This one, there was way more. It was 2 small verses and then there was these 2 longer dragged out choruses within this giant outro that was just the same thing repeated on itself. And so it didn't feel as flushed out of a song as some of the other stuff.
Gotcha. Repetitive outro, that tracks. It makes perfect sense with how you'd feel about this song. I didn't even think about it.
It was just that mixed with these longer drawn-out choruses that had falsettos I didn't care for. And the only real meat of the song, which is what I consider the verses, because that's where usually most of the story is, there was just 2 tiny little, like 4 or 5 phrase verses.
That's true. It's a little less, content-wise.
Also, just want to point out, again, instrumentals doing their best. I love the instrumentals.
Yeah, they're really good. And at the end, they bring in those synth horns, which just feels like the perfect little icing on the cake. I like Bambi. I can see why it'd be a controversial pick, maybe.
Not my thing.
Not your thing. Fair enough. Not everything is everybody's thing.
They all have to be my thing.
He's the people's champion. If your thing is not his, it is not a thing of the people.
Hey, listen. If you can't give me my thing, why even try?
Why even try? That's the next track up. Track 5, The Halfway Point.
We're there.
Nathan Stalker wrote this song.
Nice.
And yeah, it's about a struggling relationship. And the main sentiment is, well, if it's not going to go anywhere in the long run, why even try now? It's a bit of a sunk cost kind of fallacy. He also says Bubbles later on is about the same relationship. It takes a bit of a different perspective, but it got the same inspiration.
Man, the instrumentals that pick up after that first verse before we get into the second verse gave me full like indie band sound, and I loved it.
Yeah. Well, the first verse almost doesn't even count.
It's more like an intro, like I kind of expected at the beginning of Mistake, you know, where they're like trying to just set you up for the song.
Yeah. Instead, Mistakes turn into the whole song. This one actually is like a welcome mat, and then you step through the door.
Yep. And again, I like this one. This is good.
It is. And why even try to change is that last line of that introductory first verse. It's a great line before this little kind of drone of a musical transition. There's this really almost oppressive rhythmicality and a pulse to the track once they kick into full gear. I like it.
Well, and they do that thing that I love when artists do when they write a song, and that's give slight subtle changes to a common thematical lyric.
Yep.
The end of verse 1 is why even try to change. The end of verse 2 is why even try to mend. And the end of verse 3 is why even try to hear. They just slightly change it each time. And then you bring us full circle for the outro for why even try to change to end the song.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
It's good. So that's the kind of stuff I like. That shows you're putting... When you don't do it, it doesn't mean you're not putting thought and complexity into your lyrics. But doing it is a clear sign of complex and thoughtful lyrics.
Yeah. I agree. That's actually a good point. Zach said, it's pretty depressing. I don't know. The lyrics are really self-loathing. He said, whenever we play those songs, or at least when I play those songs, I get into a headspace and think about why we wrote that song.
This is why they have to expel their negative emotions before playing.
Verbatim, he says, it's nice to have that catharsis.
Oh.
So it very much is.
They do expel their negative emotions just when they play, not before they play.
Yeah. Give me a point back.
No, because
you don't have jurisdiction over that. Sorry, the mixtaper.
I don't have that jurisdiction, and even if I did, no.
I think Why Even Try is a great album track.
Oh, I love Why Even Try. It's a good one.
Yeah, I'm not even sure that it stands on its own quite as well.
I think it does.
I like it on its own well enough. I'll put it in the shuffle playlist. You know, I love it. But it does lean into the concept of the record in a really solid way. You know, if you've got all these anxieties and these doubts and you're struggling to maintain friendships, well, why even try? It's kind of like a culmination of all the stuff we've discussed to this point.
Love the instrumentals as well, in the little instrumental break.
Yeah, it's great. Well, I know you only had one listen yesterday, so the next track maybe escaped you a little bit, but you probably had enough time to think it over. Think It Over is a very different track on this album. It kind of, for me, falls more in the realm of Mistakes, just based on the sound and style of it.
Yeah.
It feels a little more towards the Cosmic Beach Boys end of the scale.
For a moment there, for some reason, I interpreted that at first as song was a mistake.
No.
And I was like, whoa.
No. That's not what I'm saying. It also is a 3/4 time signature, which we haven't yet seen on this record.
Which is cool.
Mm-hmm. It's another Jake Lupin composition. He says, I wrote the vocal melody on a bass in Zach's bedroom, and he said, we spent the rest rest of the day in his home studio writing the song directly in Pro Tools. It was one of the first times we'd written a song as a band entirely in a DAW, which is an acronym for a digital audio workstation, like, GarageBand or something. It's the first time they used that to write a song. Lyrically, Think It Over is about, once again, not being sure you're ready for the commitment that a relationship would bring. It's a failure to pursue, it's a sentimental mindset, it's a thoughtless way to love. It's very interesting. I don't know, just the song in general has a really unique feel to it.
Yeah, it's another one of those concept-y songs to it that you really got to just buy into the headspace it's going to put you in order to, I think, enjoy it.
Yeah.
Because you can already probably guess my opinions on it. It's just a chorus followed by a repetitive bridge, followed by the chorus again, followed by another repetitive outro. So
that's just it. I think It Over is super captivating and immersive, but it also kind of makes me feel a little impatient by the end of it.
But maybe that's part of the point, because it's saying you got time to think it over, and you're like, I don't want to think it over. I'm done.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah,
I want bubbles.
Exactly what I'm thinking. Well,
but that's a cool concept, I guess. Whatever.
I guess
it kind of falls into the same bubble as Mistakes.
Yeah.
In the sense that it overstays its welcome just a little bit.
A little.
The ethereal the lyrics kind of just blending in with the music and having this wave of just almost emotion trying to wash over you is cool and acceptable, but not for 3 minutes.
No. It's a little on the longer side. So I'm curious to see what bubble you'd put Bubbles into.
Definitely not a bubble.
Oh, Bubbles is a bubble-less song?
I don't know.
No. Okay. I love Bubbles. It's a fun one. Nathan Stalker recorded this one. Initially, the rough draft was another one of his voice memos, and Bubbles is just what he decided to call it for some reason, and that's what stuck. Interestingly, though, I do think the instrumentals have always kind of reminded me of rapidly popping bubbles. Just the way the bass kind of slaps your ears. I don't know. Yeah, it's just like little pops in the rhythmic background of the song. They say the song is about prioritizing the history of the relationship over the struggles of the present. And like I said, the song was based on the same relationship as Why Even Try. And actually what they did was they took Why Even Try and tried to make Bubbles as a direct response to that. What would someone say in a situation where Why Even Try is the case?
How do you feel about the bridge?
Great question. So the bridge itself is chaotic. It's loud, in your face, surprising.
Distorted.
Yeah, it's distorted and it's jarring. I really like the contrast between the sections. The verses, they're jittery, they're relaxed. The bridge, I think it just shreds your brain with these really abrasive sounds and intense lyrics. I don't know, what did you think of it? Too much?
Conceptually, cool.
Okay.
For listenability as an actual song, hated.
Hated it. Wow.
So some of it's pretty cool conceptually, but it's not my cup of tea.
Okay.
I did describe it in my notes as feeling like it was trying to evoke what emotions you'd have while being waterboarded.
Yes. I think that may be close to what they were going for.
It'd be like if I was just being held underwater and couldn't breathe, and bubbles were coming up right from where I was trying to breathe underwater while being held underwater or something, whatever.
That's the emotion you're feeling?
That's what that specific section evoked in me. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a good connection. Bubbles ends with Jake singing the lyrics, "Burn the room, feel it bloom now." And that's an allusion to the way their sound had changed since their debut album, Landmark. Kind of burn it down to make way for a new direction. That same kind of sentiment we talked about on Apoptosis. And that kind of burn the room, that's a mantra the band has used in other ways. I think they did a Burn the Room remix of one of these songs. So they embrace that kind of violent change. Now, the next track, you could tell me what you think about it honestly.
I like it.
You like honestly. Honestly, it's hard to know what you're thinking, so that's good.
It's another one where the instrumentals just really get me with the ba 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 da 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 da.
It's great.
It's great. And I actually, you know how I feel about speaking in songs. I love the intro. It's hilarious.
Yeah. So
the song starts and he's like, I'm sorry, I suck. And somebody just goes, yeah, you do.
Yes. There's a fun story behind that. They wrote the song within a half hour, just flew through, cranked it out. And not only did they write it fast, they recorded it fast too. Lupin says we laid down the instrumental within an hour of writing it. So an hour and a half total. And yeah, the mistake in the intro is just the result of them literally playing it for almost the first time. They said, "We ended up keeping that mistake in the final recording of the song. It's a nice moment on the album meant to remind people that there's still humans behind the music. Humans that can't always do everything perfectly all the time." And honestly, I just said honestly. That was actually not an honestly joke. But in a way, I think that really does mirror the idea of honesty. It's kind of a look into the real process. Instead of presenting this perfect, polished song, we get a little bit of a peek behind the curtain, which is a little cool.
Yeah. I also really enjoy what they did stylistically with the chorus.
How
honestly, it's hard to know what it's just a bum. It's pretty cool.
It is, and it incorporates the entire band like you like.
Yep.
And they get to do the falsetto part, so it's not just all Jake all the time trying to bounce all over the place. It's a little more...
Well, and I'm not against falsetto. It's just I didn't like how they use it on live.
Well, it's funny that I just responded to you in a high-pitched voice. Yeah, and it's nice that it parallels that really great piano-type hook. It's very fun. The chorus melody is top-notch.
Yeah.
It's one of the most memorable songs on the album. I think you'll walk away singing along to Honestly. I mean, regardless of what other songs you liked or didn't like.
I also love the distorted horn you get.
Where? I think that's a guitar.
Is it? Is that a guitar?
Mm-hmm.
It sounded like a distorted horn.
It's a very distorted guitar.
Oh.
Sounds like they're using front pickups and fuzz pedals and...
maybe, yeah.
I like it. Honestly, pretty good song. Track 9 is the next track on the album. Obviously, we've just finished track 8. Track 9 is Golden. It was the album's first single, and it came out just 2 days before the record's release. It is about Jake Lupin's girlfriend of 6 years. And a little bit of a fun fact, it had a working title called Polka Dot Socks.
Interesting.
Uh-huh.
And when those instruments kick in with the wah-wah of the guitar, and the wow.
Yeah, the big guitar melody part. I love it.
Yeah.
Nathan Stalker says the song is a series of questions within a long-lasting relationship. The desire to scrap everything paired with the desire to keep it all intact. And he says we realize there are no answers to the questions asked in the lyrics, but you have to ask them anyway. And those questions all come up in the chorus. Why is it I want to change for you? Why is it that I want to see this through? Why are we pursuing this? What's the end goal? A little bit of a DTR.
This is another one I enjoyed.
That's good. I like that.
And it's mainly because I like the way this song, I'm going to describe it like cooking, right? Like one of the things that high 5-star chefs like to do, right, is try to, as you're eating the dish, the different flavor notes wash over your palate at different times.
Uh-huh.
That's what this song does. The verse has a different style than the pre-chorus, that has a different style from the chorus, which has a different style from the bridge. It kind of washes over you in different ways, but yet they all complement one another. It's not drastic, like Sour Patch Kids, sweet and sour or whatever. It's
yeah,
they all complement one another and naturally transition surprisingly well, I think, from one style to the other.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how I would describe it, is different flavor notes washing over my ears.
Yeah, I agree, definitely.
And my ears are smiling.
Heck yeah. And one thing that they like to do, in addition to present you with all these different notes of flavor and different styles of song, is at the end, frequently, what Hippo Campus does is they'll blend them all together. It happens a little bit on Golden, but especially on a track like Doubt.
Yep.
I'll scream it, but I won't believe it. I've been here before. I'll tell them, don't you know it's all the same? They put all these parts together at once, and you realize it's that same melding of flavors into the final dish of the song, I guess.
Yep.
I think Golden is underrated. At least in my mind, I've regularly underrated Golden.
It's got the second most listens on Spotify.
Yeah. Well, that's why it's in my mind.
You underrate it specifically?
Yeah.
That's why you're not the people's champion.
And up next, finally, on the album, track 10. Just 10 tracks for this record.
The one I referenced all the way at the beginning that James didn't get.
You did reference it all the way back at the beginning. Passenger's probably my least listened to song on the album. That's why I didn't get it.
Really?
Yeah. Passenger, ironically, despite being the last track on the record, it was the first teaser that they released to the album, and then, by extension, of the band's new sonic direction. It came out back in June of 2018, a good 4 or 5 months before the rest of the album. Jake Lupin says, lyrically, the themes deal with the challenges of growing alongside the person you love. And he says for this one in particular, he really went out of his way to go with a complex chord progression and all kinds of stuff that he just hasn't done before. And I think that makes sense. Passenger obviously is the longest track on the album by a matter of minutes.
And I'm a huge fan of it.
Huge fan of it, yeah.
This one does not overstay its welcome. First off, instantly caught my ear with the bloop, 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 bloop. from
Yeah.
the instrumentals.
It's a different kind of sound. We haven't even heard the sound yet at all.
But it doesn't feel out of place. Like sometimes we hit those ones where we're like, this felt like it broke kind of the vibe of the album. This one did not break it.
No, it actually almost feels a little bit like the beginning of Bubbles, but in a way more
Bloop, 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 bloop.
drummy kind of way.
So this one goes in the same bubble as Bubbles?
Yeah, it's the Bubble Bubble song.
I gotcha. But not only did it catch my ear with that, but then the very first time Jake comes in singing, when he says Calico, I just love that as an intro to a song. I was like, whoa, Calico, you'll always chase a pedigree. I was like, man, all right, we're jumping in with some interesting lyrics from the get-go.
Absolutely.
And also, the way he sings Calico, very pleasing. It's very easy to, one of the things when they teach you about, like, in singing is how to pronounce certain sounds slightly wrong because they sound better when sung rather than said.
Yep.
Like, it would have been very easy to put the hard, like, sound on Calico as he was holding it out.
Would have been gross.
And it would have been gross. So that more Calico that he puts on it is much more pleasant to my smiling ears.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Well trained.
I really dove in on that first lyric.
It's a good first lyric. And the rest of the lyrics are similarly poetic. Passenger, I'm clinging to the driver's seat, but you've got all the fight we need.
Oh, there was a buffoonish lyric on a previous track I forgot to point out.
Uh-oh. If you know it, let me know.
It's like when he says like something. Hang on, I gotta go figure out where it was.
Well, while you do that, I will inform everybody that on Passenger, the main piano part was actually written by the drummer, Whistler Allen, and they loved it so much, they slapped it on the end of the record. It actually was another voice memo kind of song. They actually recorded an entire series of piano tracks on a voice memo thing. They said it was very indie, and this one they picked out to bring into the full album, which is great.
Here it is, found it. It's one more. It's on Bubbles. It's back on Bubbles.
What's the buffoonish Bubbles?
Buffoonish bubble. Gotta pop that buffoonish bubble. In the refrain, it says all the parts that you're effing with, like a tourniquet, I could light the whole thing up. Why are you lighting up a tourniquet? That's not what you do with a tourniquet.
No, that's true.
I was like, what do you mean like a tourniquet?
Yeah, no, I don't have an explanation for that one.
Yeah.
So back to Passenger.
Anyway, Passenger for me is this is why it shocked me that it was your least listened to. It's the song that finally did it as close to 100% right as you could.
Okay.
For this album.
Interesting.
All the things that so like on Doubt and stuff, I was like, I had good vocals, or I liked the rhythms. And then on like Why Even Try, I really enjoyed the lyrics and the instrumentals. Talked about how it honestly had that unique chorus structure and instrumental break.
They teased you with all the pieces.
For the most part, most of the songs had at least 1 to 2 aspects of how to write a song that I really, really liked on that song specifically. That then other songs would be missing. This one had pretty much all of them.
Nice.
And it was really fitting that it was at the end of the album. It was both fitting and sad that it took all the way to the end of the album to hit the song that like wrapped everything up in the perfect little bow structurally.
Yeah.
The way I wanted it to.
It's kind of, I would tend to say it's probably better that they saved it for this far back. Especially if you don't think they hit it anywhere else. No better time like the conclusion.
Correct. Because then everything after would have just been like a slump and I would have been like, ugh.
A slump. And this is kind of like they're giving you different pieces that they'll put together at the end. And then they bring it all together at the finale. Instead of like leaving pieces out and then giving them later. I don't know. It's different. The end of Passenger is from a different part of that same recording of The Homeless Man they featured at the end of Mistakes.
Oh.
Which is another way that they bring the beginning and the end of the album together in a full circle.
Clever.
Very clever, right? And you'd never know. That's what I love about the podcast. You know things you'd never know.
I think I would like to amend my previous statement all the way back on about the full sound being what I think the band needs. It doesn't always need to be the full band sound or like the heightened, distorted Jake sound. I just think they need to do more because some of these other people wrote songs and jump into the songs lyrically every once in a while. I just think they need more duet between Jake and Nathan. Like on verse 2, when they're both singing together, it's very pretty. And I'm like, give me more of that as well. So like just less of him by himself in any other combination, I think. That way you can keep it fresh.
Harmonies and yeah, sure.
Yeah, get some more harmonies in there.
It sounds like we're ready for Final Spin.
I think we are.
I think we are too. So let's think it over in Final Spin. As for my scores, this is such a fun album to listen to. It's a deep album, Lyrically, the themes are like a little heavy, but the music kind of like it takes you through that, but it almost feels like you're going through it looking at it through glass. You don't have to feel the emotions. You can just see how these people are experiencing them, which is interesting. I love the music. A lot of these songs are sing-alongable, a lot, like you said, are very memorable, and they really did challenge themselves to break their landmark mold.
Bone stickers.
Bone stickers. Musical bone stickers. So I'm giving this album an 88 for music. Lyrically, it's tough. There are some songs that they do get into the repetitive bit of the lyrics, and some are stronger than others, admittedly, but I do like that they don't shy away from really anything. Given lyrics an 83, instruments and production, I'm a sucker for this kind of stuff, I'll be honest. I think it's great. The production is really clean. The instruments, like you said, there are a lot of sounds that are different. This album rarely presents you with the same thing twice, and when it does, there's a purpose behind it. For example, like that chorus on Doubt that takes you all the way back to the same feeling of mistakes. It's cleverly constructed and well executed. 92 for instruments and production. And the overall vibe, I can't believe most of these songs are like barely 3 minutes. They feel loaded. This is a 10-track album that's like a half hour long, and it just feels easy to listen to. I'm giving the vibe a 96. Pretty high on that vibe score. Overall, that's given the album an 89.5, mostly hampered by the lyrics, to be honest. That puts it at number 97 on the rankings list. This would be a top 100.
Wow.
Yeah, and playlist pick is going to be a tough one, and my pick is going to be solely dependent on what yours is.
Wow, you're going to force me to pick, huh?
Uh-huh.
Can I get a hint of what you're thinking about?
Frontrunners include Anxious, Doubt, maybe Bambi, but that's the lower end. Bubbles is in contention a little tiny bit, and Honestly is another strong frontrunner. I'd put my non-existent top 3-ish at Anxious, Doubt, Honestly.
Okay. I just want to make sure there wasn't anything drastic in there that was going to be a frontrunner that I wasn't going to like.
That you needed to stop me from doing?
Yeah.
I have my guesses for what you'll pick based on what you've said so far.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I've kind of summarized a lot of my thoughts, I think, at the end with Passenger, with kind of like the summary of everything I liked about the album and how it all wrapped up nice with Passenger. So I think I'll just jump right into what my top 3 are. And by jump right in, I mean I need to ask you a question. How important is it for me to have all 3 of my picks next week?
Oh, you will want all 3 of your picks next week.
Really?
Yes.
Ugh, okay.
Maybe that's me being optimistic, but next week is one of my favorites. It may blow your mind.
Really? That means something on my list needs to go.
More than 3 top 3s is a good sign.
To be honest with you, there was half the album really liked. I could see myself listening to them, outside of the context of the podcast. The other half, the other 5 tracks, probably never listen to again outside of the re-listen I give every album. So it's a pretty 50-50 album for me. So my top 3 in album order: Doubt.
Don't doubt it.
Why Even Try?
Why not?
Honestly.
Are you sure?
Is my honorable mention.
Okay.
And Passenger.
Yep.
And there was another one in there. Can't tell you what it was, unfortunately. I was pretty anxious about it.
Yeah, about wanting to take an extra one.
Yeah, I was pretty anxious about wanting to take an extra one, so I had to ask you.
Yeah, fair. Okay, well, we'll never know.
We'll never know. Couldn't possibly know.
No, it's locked in the vault.
My playlist pick, I think, is going to have to be Passenger, just because it brings everything together. It's interesting because it brings everything together, but I'm not 100% certain it's my favorite song on the album.
Nice. I think if you're taking Passenger, Anxious is going to take it. Mostly because if we're representing this album and this band on the playlist, Anxious is a lot more consistent section to section. Doubt does a little more jumping around.
Fair enough. But yeah, and then my score, what are you thinking for a score?
I don't want to guess.
You don't want to guess?
No, I'm optimistic, but I don't want to guess.
Really?
I think I'll speak something out of existence. No, I don't want to take a guess.
Come on. I love it when you guess.
It's so hard. I can't tell. I can't remember how much you like some of these others. Well, can I be so bold as to suggest this may land at a 9 in between Lil Nas X Montero and Tina Turner's Private Dancer?
Wow, you think when I said this album was 50-50 track-wise, it was getting a 9?
No, I don't know. The things that you liked, you really liked.
It's going to have to be a little better than 50-50 track-wise to pop into my 9s.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I would want it to be a 9.
I mean, it's got to be Dr. Demento's greatest Christmas novelty CD of all time,
That's
which
the other
I like
thing,
almost
too.
every track.
That's the other thing, too. That shouldn't be in the 9s. Anyway.
This one is getting 8. Princes of the Forest for me.
But it's not about Bambi the deer. I suppose I'll begrudgingly be okay with that.
This is slotting in between Fragile by Yes and OK Orchestra by AJR.
That's a painful ranking. Oh.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty good.
It is. It's not where I would put it. That's why it's painful.
Yeah.
That's what this podcast is all about. You hurting my feelings. At least you gave it a very thorough analysis. I can't be mad about you didn't just willy-nilly stick it down there. Well, that's going to do it for this week. I hope I haven't oversold you on next week already.
Listen, if next week I am not happy to have all of my picks, I don't know what I'll do, but it'll be significant.
So noted. Next week will be a B-side cut, too. We'll have a special extended episode for the next episode.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's exciting. And at some point in the future to us, but the past for you, we'll be checking out the Grammys. So enjoy that. Well, thanks for listening to this episode of Spin It. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
If you're looking for more Spin It content, first of all, you can find our favorite songs playlist both on YouTube and on Spotify. It's called Spin It Favorite Songs, the music behind the podcast. And if you're looking for more of us, just in general, we're on socials, at Spin It Pod on Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, all of it. At Spin It Pod Official on Instagram. So I guess when I said all of it, that was a lie. And also, we're on the web at www.spinitpod.com, where you can find all kinds of bonus content, next week's extended episode, and more. And our store.
The Mixtaper would also like me to remind the audience that he has his Twitter page at @the_Mixtaper.
And if that sounds like a good time to you, and you don't want this feeling to end, then
there's only one thing to do.
Yeah, keep spinning.
Keep spinning. I think you're really underappreciating how much skill it would take to shoot a deer running at full speed.
Oh, we're back here. It would take some skill, but people do trap shooting with like clay pigeons, and I guess that's a shotgun.
Yeah, one that's a shotgun, and two, it's gonna follow like an arc pattern that you're already anticipating. This is a deer. How fast did deer run? I don't even know.
Let's look.
Allows them to reach record speeds of up to 30 miles per hour. Imagine trying to shoot something running 30 miles an hour.
That's tough. But the deer, in theory, could be running in a straight line away from him, which would mean it's a little easier. You don't have to deviate left or right as much. And I don't know.
I mean, yeah, sure.
I have to watch Bambi again to get a grasp on the situation. But first, I'm going to listen to Bambi again. This was a bone sticker of an episode.